Hey gang, welcome to another video about SPACs. This one is a follow-up to an investor presentation review that I did just a couple of days ago, in which I speculated whether Topps, which is going public via MUDS, MUDS, was going to release any MLB-related NFTs soon, and we have our answer pretty much right away. Topps Digital announced that in a partnership with Wax, they're going to be releasing some MLB NFTs as soon as next week, which is pretty awesome, actually, for the company and for collectors. I think this is a good step forward for Topps and Topps Digital because NFTs are all the rage these days. I kind of compared it to what NBA Top Shot was doing, and I think Topps Digital is kind of following in their footsteps with essentially making a quick deal with MLB and getting these out as soon as possible. There was also a very interesting video that I will link to in the description below that I think any investor of Topps should watch, but I kind of went through it and I'll give you the high level details of what was going on that made me think that this was coming sooner than later. This was a Yahoo Finance video with Michael Eisner and Jason Mudrick of Mudrick Corporation, and they really talked about what Topps means and what they expect from Topps going forward. Here are some things I found pretty interesting when I watched the video. You know, from Mudrick, it was kind of a reflection of what I said in my video. They believe this is a good valuation for the current business, and I agree with that. You know, you already get a business that's kind of chugging along. You've got the physical card business, you've got the confectionery business, and you're sort of getting this digital growth, this NFT business for free at current valuations, and that's totally something I agree with. And now that the NFTs are kind of rolling out at a faster pace, this makes me believe this is a better investment than I thought it was just a couple of days ago. So their idea for the blockchain and what it means for them, Eisner really talked about that. He thinks that it allows them to participate in the secondary market, so you're benefiting from that second and third and fourth sale, etc. You know, and the idea he talked about, which sounds really good to me as an investor, is to keep the supply lower than the demand, to keep that secondary market alive, to keep that reoccurring revenue coming. Because right now, Topps, basically, you know, you go to Walmart, you go to a hobby store, you buy a card, and that's it. That's the end of their revenue model, right? If that card gets resold somewhere down the line for $5 million because it's rare now, Topps doesn't get a part of that. With the blockchain, the digital technology, they do. You know, if these cards get resold on the secondary market, they might be getting pennies on the exchange, but they're getting those pennies. And if it becomes a real thing somewhere down the line where these cards are traded often and collectors are looking for certain cards and they get, you know, 3 basis points or even 1 basis point of deal, it's pretty good for them, right? They're not only selling that card for a similar price as they would a physical card, which means they potentially get higher margin on those cards depending on what kind of deals they have with the companies that they work with, but they also get to participate in the secondary market, right? So he talked about how they launched NFTs a year ago, how this deal was kind of made before the NFT boom, which kind of speaks to the good valuation that you're getting as an investor if you bought early on enough. They sort of released the Garbage Pail Kids NFTs maybe last year before NBA Top Shot was even a thing. That basically sold out. They launched Godzilla a couple of weeks ago. That sold out instantly. And now they're launching MLB. But during the interview, before this was even public, he said, hey, we have deals with baseball. We're going to be launching NFTs with Formula One, with Bundesliga, with Champions League. I mean, there's more to come from this, which is really cool as an investor because the digital cards are the future, right? They kind of talked about how they've been popular on a smaller scale for nearly a decade. They have various digital products. You can buy digital cards online from Topps.com. But this is the next step forward with that. And I think participating in the secondary market is going to be really, really cool for the company and for investors of the company, right? So their idea is, hey, we're using digital creatively. They've had things like having contemporary artists do art on top of older cards. They have various licenses with, let's say, Marvel, with Disney products, Disney areas, where if they can get contemporary artists to do art for them and sort of do that within an NFT landscape, that's pretty cool, right? And I think collectors are going to enjoy that very much. I think the digital card collecting space, some people may not understand it, but I think there's something to it, right? NBA Top Shot has shown that it can be popular, although I think part of that is driven by speculators at this point. But if you think about other digital items, you know, people pay hundreds of dollars for a skin for a gun for games like Counter-Strike, or, you know, they are readily willing to buy loot boxes for games like Overwatch or or Apex Legends or whatever, just to get digital items. So what's different in relation to digital cards? One thing he mentioned is that, hey, when you get a physical card, the stats don't update until you get the next physical card. If you're getting a blockchain card, you could have, day-to-day stat updates with every at bat, and stuff like that is cool for collectors and people who are into that stuff. And he also mentioned that, hey, he loves the company because Topps is this sort of old school brand that has an emotional connection that's going to resonate with people like Disney. And he mentioned, hey, if we get 1/10 of the performance of Disney, he'll be a happy man. And I think as an investor, I'll be a happy man myself, because the starting point here is reasonable. Like I mentioned in the other video, and you can watch that, and I'll link to that below. It's a longer one though, because their expectations around their digital sports and entertainment aren't really that high. In 2020 actual, before they even released any of these NFTs, this is their old school digital products via apps and their website, they had $31 million in digital revenue. Their expectations for 2021 are 41 million. And that's, standard growth over here was 18 to 31. Now you're growing another 10 million. That probably doesn't assume a lot of contribution from NFTs. And if you look at what happened with the Godzilla packs, which basically made them $500,000 in revenue within hours, I think you can expect more of the same with some of these other NFTs, because they are widely sought after by collectors and speculators at the same point. Now, that's not a great thing to have speculators be involved early on, because it kind of can push out some of the collectors. But I think the market will normalize eventually, and some of these more common cards that just collectors are looking for to fill their collections will be cheap enough that they can start building their collections easily. Because initially, I think these things will be hard to get. Speculators will flood the launches readily and make it harder for people like myself who maybe want to buy a pack or two just to have fun to actually get a pack. And these things will sell out, just like the Godzilla stuff sold out. And I saw posts on Twitter that like, hey, this thing, I couldn't even get a chance to buy this thing because it was sold out so quickly. And this is Godzilla, so I don't know if that's essentially a massive market. But like Eisner said, I think they're going to do the smart thing here. They're going to keep supply somewhat low to keep the demand of secondary market alive. And as a business, that's a good thing for them, right? They're going to keep generating revenue down the line. And I think if you look at these projections, 31 to 41 to 51, these are going to be pessimistic. I think these numbers are going to be a lot better in the next couple of years if they can keep releasing these things on a decent clip, at a decent clip, and not just flood the market with crappy product, right? So they're doing the first launch here with their MLB product in partnership with Wax. You can kind of get some details here about what's going on, but they also sort of show you what sort of revenue you can expect from a company like this. So you've got 50,000 packs, and I've got my handy dandy spreadsheet open here. You got 50,000 packs being sold for $5. You've got 24,090 premium packs being sold for $100. You're talking about, assuming this sells out, almost $3 million in revenue right there within the first launch. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of demand they get for this launch, but I would assume that it's going to sell out pretty quickly. I myself will probably get one or two of these packs just to check out the product and see how it is, see how it compares to NBA Top Shot. One thing I do like about NBA Top Shot is that it's got its own website and it's got a cool presentation to it. I think Topps might be lacking a bit on that, and hopefully they catch up to what NBA Top Shot is doing in terms of the presentation, because right now this is sort of hosted on the Wax wallet, it seems like, and I don't know exactly how it will look, but that's all assumption, right? It's hosted on Wax. There's credit card only. I'm assuming you'll be able to resell this stuff on some sort of secondary market within Wax. The interesting thing here is that it seems like there's going to be quite a bit of volume here. You've got 6 cards for every one of these packs and 45 cards for every one of these premium packs. So you're talking about, within the first release, 1.3 million cards out there. So that's a lot of supply. Is there going to be enough demand to have a strong secondary market for something like that? I don't know. As an investor, I would have liked this to be closer to NBA Top Shot, where they charge you like $9 for 3 cards. This is a better deal for collectors. But it's also a different product, right? NBA Top Shot is kind of in the moment space where it's active plays that you're buying, which is kind of cool. Whereas this is just physical cards placed onto the digital space, which is also cool in a way. It's more familiar to collectors. I think this is going to be a start of something that differentiates Topps from what it used to be. And I do believe Jason Mudrick in that video where he says, hey, we made this deal before we thought the NFTs could be a big contributor to revenue. And it's hard to tell how much revenue exactly, just with this launch alone. And I'm assuming there'll be more launches this year, not to mention some launches with Formula One, some launches with Bundesliga, some launches with other, the Champions League, Euro 2024 down the line. I mean, this is going to be a decent revenue boost anytime a pack is released, but then it'll also be interesting to see what kind of secondary revenue they can garner. And it'll also be interesting to see what the margins are on this, right? They obviously have a deal with MLB, Major League Baseball, MLB players, etc. There's probably, I don't know if they have a deal with Wax or whoever runs the Wax wallet, Wax token websites in relation to giving them some of the revenue. So obviously they're not getting all of this revenue as profit, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of margin they're getting here. It seems like it would be cheaper to make digital cards than it would be to make physical cards. But who knows? Who knows what sort of deals they signed with MLB and MLB players, and what sort of deals they signed with the blockchain company that they're working with. So you're really looking at, hey, there's Major League Baseball, we already have that. There's Major League Soccer, not a huge deal, but I think there's some popularity there. UEFA Champions League, big on the international side. Bundesliga, international play. National Hockey League, Formula One, very big international play. Can they transition this into some of these entertainment models that they have? Star Wars, WWE, Mars Attacks, Marvel, any other Marvel areas, Disney areas. Obviously, there's a connection between Michael Eisner and Disney. Can they sign some deals there and have some collectible art based on those properties? I think this is an interesting play on the NFT space. This is probably my favorite play. If you think NFTs are going to be a big thing down the line, there's companies that are kind of like vaguely NFT related, like HOFV, that people are like, oh, this is an NFT play. I don't see that as much as an NFT play as I see Topps. And let's see what the market thinks of these guys after this announcement. I mean, 4% bump, not a huge bump. So I think this is still a reasonable value at today's prices, because I think these assumptions are conservative, if anything. And I think even if the NFT boom isn't what it is made out to be, and this is sort of like the top of it, you're not getting this at a valuation that makes me fear that even if this doesn't pan out in a big way, it's a big deal for Topps, right? Any additional revenue is going to be good for them, and any growth on the digital side, even if it's from 31 to 61 million by 2022, if this is a bigger thing than we think it is going to be beneficial, because they already have this underlying business that essentially prints money on a consistent scale, right? This confectionery business isn't going anywhere. This physical sports and entertainment business, it's probably kind of booming right now because there's a lot of speculation and a lot of collectors entering the market. Will that ever crash? It's possible. So there's certainly some risk on that front, but I don't feel like this is a company that's going under. I don't think this is a company that's ever going to go to zero, because they kind of have a floor with the business model they have built, and you have this upside given to you by these collectibles that are going to potentially become the next big thing. Digital collectibles are cool. I like them. They're already embedded in areas that teenagers and young adults use all the time. People are willing to buy digital collectibles when it comes to video games that essentially have no chance of appreciating in value. In most games, certain games you can resell things on like the Steam store, but a lot of games you don't. You sort of just buy this thing for $2 or buy a pack of skins for $5, and they're just there for your entertainment. Whereas these things can be also there for your entertainment, but have a secondary market where you can potentially make some money on the back end. If I look at NBA Top Shot, I've bought a couple packs there. I've probably spent like $40, and I have maybe a dozen cards. I've sold one for $85 already, right? So from a speculative standpoint, I think that's how people look at NBA Top Shot right now. And I think that's how people are going to look at some of these early entry NFTs right now, which is going to be good for tops initially because a lot of this stuff will sell out and there'll be at least an initial secondary market where people think they can buy these things and sell them at a higher price later. Once that stops, it'll be interesting to see how these things go on. Because I think there's still going to be like, general collectors who aren't really looking to make profit out of these things, who are going to want to buy some of these cards at a low price. And that time will eventually come. I don't think it's going to be right off the bat because there's going to be, thousands and thousands of people trying to buy these packs, and I think they'll sell out pretty quickly. I'll be in there trying to buy a pack on April 20th when this launches. I think a lot of other people will be. So I think initially this is going to be good for tops. I think in the long run, it'll be pretty good for tops. It's not. Is it going to be a game changer? If it is, then this valuation is a deal of a lifetime. But even if it's not, you're still getting a decent company that's probably going to return, 8 to 9 to 10% a year, like it did for Madison Dearborn Partners and the company that Michael Eisner runs. I forget their name, since 2007. Right, this has been an 8 to 9% appreciator based on the 375 million price when they went private in 2007 to the 1.3 billion price when they went public again in 2021, and I think that can continue. Right, so that's not a bad deal, in my opinion. I think as long as they keep executing like they've been executing, this can be a pretty decent return. And you've got the upside of NFTs, which are only starting to be realized. So I still like this company. I actually bought more shares after I made my video last time because it dropped to like 1060 or 1070, and I bought another. I basically increased my position by about 60% since my original position because I like this company. I like what they're doing. And hey, in a celebration of the monumental release, the first 1,000 people to sign up to receive email alerts are eligible to receive a free exclusive Topps MLB opening day NFT pack. So, go do that. Sale begins on Tuesday, April 20th until sold out. So cool to see them doing this. They're not the only one. I looked at, I mentioned Panini and I was like, why aren't they doing this? But Panini is doing this. They are basically selling individual cards instead of packs. And I think that's another opportunity for them later on. They can, hey, look at this individual card. You can buy it for $7,000. There's only going to be 5 of them made ever. And that sort of thing entices collectors. The pack opening aspect of it, I hope it's done well. Like NBA Top Shot kind of has music playing in the background and you open each individual moment by itself. If you can have some sort of graphic thing of the, you can't replicate the tactile feeling of opening a baseball card pack and kind of moving through the cards and seeing, hey, this is a rare one. This is a super rare one. I hope they have something like that where you can kind of just have a cool experience when you're buying this, because at the end of the day, that's partially what people are buying. They're buying an experience. They're buying a collectible. They're buying something neat, something futuristic. And I think Topps is doing a good job with getting this off the ground. The thing I'm worried about is this is a lot of cards. They talked about the supply and demand aspect of having a secondary market alive. And that's certainly going to be the case for some of these legendary exclusives that have a low drop rate, because there's probably going to be, a couple hundred of them, a couple hundred of these. But if you're talking about 1.3 million cards, that means there's going to be over, nearly 1 million common cards. Or clearly there's going to be a lot of different cards involved. I don't know exactly how many are dropping, but that's a lot of supply within the first drop. But it does seem like these card designs are very cool. You've got some of these NFTs. And I think the next step forward is, hey, you have an NFT version of this card. Do you want it printed so you can have the actual physical version of this card as well for $9.99? That's the sort of business model I see Topps building. And they already have that sort of business model, but it's an addition to this digital model where they can not only sell you a pack, they can benefit from the secondary transactions. And then for the people that want the physical version of some of these rare cards, they can, hey, you can pay 10 to 20 bucks or whatever, and we'll do it for you. And that's cool. As an investor, I like it. As a collector, I like it, and I'm excited about both these things, and you can damn well be sure that I'll be in line to buy these cards and probably fail because the 70,000 odd packs will probably sell out in 6 minutes or a minute. The second it launches, some bots will be out there buying them all so they can resell them all on the secondary market. Sucks for me as a collector. Good for me as a stockholder if that's what happens, because the secondary market will be active and Topps will be making some money. So, hey, good for Topps, good for MUDS. I think this is still a valuable investment here. As always, guys, I'm not a qualified financial advisor. Please make sure to do your own due diligence and talk to a financial advisor before you make any investments. But I just thought this would be a cool update to make on the video I made earlier, because it does change the picture a bit, because it's a quicker move to digital than I assumed would happen. And I'm excited to see where they take this and what other releases they'll have, because there's a lot of value in some of the brands that they own. And I think they can take this stock to a much higher valuation than it's currently trading at. You know, it's trading as if it's a slow growing, dull company. And it has been historically, but if that changes, this multiple of 1.6, 1.7 sales that they're getting currently could really spike up, and essentially, if it doubles, I wouldn't be surprised. If this market re-rates this company as more of a growth company because of this change to digital, because of the actual growth that they've had, even without a lot of digital growth embedded in there, then I wouldn't be surprised by that, right? The valuation here is fair, and you've got the upside of NFTs, and those NFTs are coming. So I like it. I like the stock. I'll invest more if, it seems to be dropping a little bit. But hey, I think this has upside, and if it drops into that 1060, 1050 range again, I'll probably pick up more shares. And for me, this is a long-term hold. I'm okay with the dilution that's coming with warrants, etc., because I think management's interests here are aligned with mine. I think I think Eisner knows what he's doing. I think he's a savvy operator, and I really like their path forward and what they have in mind. The market doesn't seem to be valuing it as well as I did. Some of that probably comes from the fact that SPACs are kind of in a downturn right now. But I think from a long-term perspective, if they can execute well on this digital transformation, if the business keeps chugging along, if the standard business keeps chugging along, then I'm still a happy investor. But if they can execute well on this digital transformation, then I'm a very, very happy investor. And that's really what I'm hoping for here. And I'll hold this for quite some time and see how it plays out. And that's really it. Let me know what you guys think here. Let me know if you like the investment more than you did a couple of days ago, because I certainly do. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video in the future. Let me know if you want me to review something specifically. Just leave a comment down below, leave a like, leave a subscribe. All of that stuff is appreciated. So thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day. And, I'll see you in line on the 20th for some digital cards if you're there. So talk to you later.